Hello everybody. This is what part of remote looks like. There's still a lot of snow on the ground. I don't know, it's hard to see if you can see out there in the distance, but it's still a lot of snow all over the place. Wow, people get a little bit impatient. I know it's been a while. Look at our eyes, used to the light over here. But Sari told me that there was a request for another shiur. I really just wanted to take a few minutes now to Erev Shabbos. Erev Shabbos, Parsha Shemot, and Yerushalayim just had a major snowfall this past week. Last Shabbos, we were actually stuck outside of Yerushalayim. I'm actually traveling to America. I was supposed to come in on Sunday this week, but it's pushed off till next Thursday. So I'll be in America for about 2 weeks. I'll keep you posted with the dates and the specifics. But I just wanted to share a brief thought, a brief idea on this week's Parsha, something to take some chizuk, some inspiration from. There's a very famous Rambam, the Rambam in Hilchos Tshuva in Parakeh. He says the following thing with reference to us and Moshe Rabbeinu, a very famous Rambam. And he writes like this: Al yavor b'machshavoscha davar zeh. Don't let it even occur to you. Don't let it think. Don't even think what the people say, foolish people, that Hashem decides if I'm going to be a tzaddik or a rasha. Hashem decides if I'm going to be a good person or a bad person. Eina davar kain. Elakol adam, every single person, ro'ui lo lihios tzaddik k'Moshe Rabbeinu. Every single person has the ability to be a tzaddik, a saint, a pious person like Moshe Rabbeinu, or rasha ki Yeravam, or a wicked person like Yeravam. There's a very famous line in the Rambam that every person can be like Moshe Rabbeinu. And we know the Rambam doesn't just say things, stam. He doesn't just say things, as an example. When he says a person can be like Moshe Rabbeinu, that means something. It means he really could be like Moshe. But what does that mean? What does that mean? That means only one person was ever successful. Nobody else got the Torah. Nobody else reached that level of prophecy. So what does it mean? Everybody else fell short because nobody else reached that. What does it mean? So we're familiar with the famous idea, the famous answer, that it's talking about a person has the ability to fulfill his or her potential. And I want to just share an idea with you that I heard last year Rabbi Irons, Rabbi Shmuel Irons, a Rebbe of mine, a Rosh Kollel in Detroit. He came to Eretz Yisrael last year and he spoke in the seminary, and he spoke about the idea of Moshe Rabbeinu, and he said the following idea. He said, there's no question about it that every person is given a certain set of gifts, a certain set of talents, a certain potential, certain abilities that is unique to this person that nobody else in the world has. And there's no question about it that Moshe Rabbeinu as well, was given obviously certain potential, certain unique, certain abilities that other people were not given. Nobody else was given the ability, even the potential to climb onto Har Sinai and speak face to face with Hashem. Right? There's certain unique gifts that Moshe Rabbeinu was given, spiritual gifts. But who was the him? Who was the Moshe Rabbeinu that chose, that became a great person? So evidently, whatever it is that the Torah tells us about him, when the Torah describes Moshe Rabbeinu to us, or the Torah is describing to us events in Moshe Rabbeinu's life, so the Torah is telling us these are those places that we can learn from. These are those places that Moshe Rabbeinu expressed himself. These are not examples of the innate spiritual gifts that he was given. These are not examples of an incredible level that he was born. When he was born, there was a light that filled the house. But when the Torah describes to us the actions of Moshe Rabbeinu, or the reactions of Moshe Rabbeinu, that's for us to learn from. That's where Moshe Rabbeinu was himself, and that's where we see him fulfilling his potential, and that's where we have the ability to be like him. So it's interesting, Rabbi Irons points out, so what is it? What do we see about Moshe Rabbeinu? What do we know? We know that he was born, and like we said, the house filled with light, and miracles happened to protect him, in the Yor, and all of these other things happened. But again, none of that's Moshe Rabbeinu. That has nothing to do with him. That has nothing to do with his choices or anything that we can learn from. So what do we see? How are we introduced to Moshe Rabbeinu? So it says, he grows up, vayetze elochim vayar b'siv losam. The very first thing we learn about Moshe Rabbeinu is his midah of compassion, his midah of empathy, his midah of connecting and seeing another person in pain, vayar b'siv losam, and understanding, that somebody else is suffering, somebody else is in pain, and then going ahead and doing something about it. And then, if we pay attention, we'll see consistently that that's really all we learn about Moshe Rabbeinu. The Torah doesn't tell us anything about any of Moshe Rabbeinu's spiritual gifts or any special talents he has. That comes in next, the end of the Parsha when he starts talking to Hashem at the sneh, at the burning bush. But until that point, the only thing that we see Moshe Rabbeinu, his actions are actions of compassion. He sees the Mitzri, harming a Jew. He sees Dasan and Aviram fighting with each other, and he steps in. The Medrash tells us, later on when he runs away from Paro and he goes to Midian, this whole story of the sneh of the burning bush happens because he lost one of the sheep. One of the sheep of his father-in-law ran away, and he went to go chase after it and cared for it. All we see is Moshe Rabbeinu showing compassion. So Ayin said that, obviously he said this is the place that we look to Moshe Rabbeinu and we learn from. This is the place that we have to ask ourselves, am I reaching my potential? Am I reaching, forget about my gifts, forget about my talents, forget about the situation in my life that I was born into and those things that are easy for me. Am I fulfilling my potential? Am I doing those things that I have the ability to choose to do? And we have to look to Moshe Rabbeinu and see, this is a person who was shalem. And when you have that combination, a person given these unique spiritual gifts as he was given, together with the complete perfection, the complete shleimos of choosing the tov, of being bocher b'tov, of leading a life, showing compassion and not just feeling compassion, but acting upon it, and helping other people and going out of his way, so that's how a person achieves the greatness of Moshe Rabbeinu. And that's what the Rambam says. A person should never say to themselves, I'm limited in my ability to fulfill my potential. Whatever unique gifts I have, that's from Hashem. But my choices, my ability to choose to be great, to choose to help others, to choose to, fulfill my potential, that's up to me, and that's where we have to be like Moshe Rabbeinu. So I hope we get some chizuk. Maybe I'll just go back outside and show you one last view of the hills now, where it's all covered in snow. Like I said, a very rare sight over here in Yerushalayim. It's going to be bright.